This is my 163rd video on my work with OO gauge. See part 1 of this series for my reasons for getting into OO gauge when I already had a lot invested in working in N gauge and I didn't really have space available for a large, fully operational OO gauge layout. Also see my series on my N gauge railway modelling for smaller and more complex scenery and smaller scale trains running. This part will continue my experiments with my Hornby Dublo 3-rail tabletop railway, which is still in its early stages. This time I'll be rebadging the 3-rail 264 tank engine introduced in my previous video as an LMS engine and getting it running a bit better. Then I'll fix up some 3-rail wagons and get the 264T running with a little freight train, albeit only on the loop of track that came with the Duchess of Atholl train set, since that's the only 3-rail track that I have set up so far. Here's the 264 tank as it came to me, as Hornby sold it in BR livery, and in front of it is the replacement body that I bought, nicely refinished in LMS black livery. Of course I could have just refinished the original body myself, and that wouldn't really have been too difficult since I have the necessary decals on hand, but I happened to see this body on eBay UK and it looked as though someone had made a good job of it, so I went ahead and bought it. It appears that in addition to painting the body in gloss black and applying the LMS decals, the refinisher has also fitted replacement handrails. I got the loco onto my workbench to swap the body. The front pony truck needs to be removed as the body retaining screw is underneath the pony truck when the model's upside down. You can see the body retaining screw at top left here now that the pony truck is removed. Once that body retaining screw is taken out, the chassis can be removed from the body simply by lifting it at the front and then pulling it forwards and up. Here's what the body looks like when the chassis is removed. The body retaining screw screws into the bar that is riveted across the body at the front, just behind the front buffer beam. While I had the chassis out of the body as part of the changeover, I gave the chassis a good cleaning using electrical contact cleaner. I got this idea from OO Bill. It wouldn't really have occurred to me to use electrical contact cleaner. Indeed, I wasn't even aware that such a specific product existed. OO Bill uses WD-40 electrical contact cleaner. Unfortunately, that seems not to be sold in shops in Canada where I live. Perhaps it doesn't comply with Canadian safety regulations, etc., since a wide range of other WD products are available in Canadian shops. I did find the WD-40 contact cleaner for sale online with shipping to Canada, but the price was around 3 times what brands of contact cleaner available in Canadian shops cost. So I bought this, which is Canadian Tire's store brand electrical contact cleaner. This cost around $10 for a can. Princess Auto did have contact cleaner even cheaper at $6 a can, but theirs didn't come with a straw, and I thought that having the ability to squirt the cleaner powerfully exactly where wanted using a straw would be very important in using it to clean model railway components. I used the straw to squirt contact cleaner through the spokes of the wheels at the axles and between the wheels and the chassis. The contact cleaner leaves no residue according to the product description, which is certainly good as you want to use it to remove dirt and grease and then leave the metal clean. This cleaner that I used did take quite a while to evaporate after being applied, longer than I expected. It's certainly not like ether or something that evaporates away immediately. So after cleaning the chassis, I needed to wait for a while for the residual contact cleaner to dry away. Then I re-lubricated things, as the contact cleaner naturally removes all of the oil and grease, that being essentially its basic purpose. I did find that this cleaning with the contact cleaner followed by re-lubrication made a very considerable difference. The model ran much more smoothly and with less power after this process. After the cleaning and re-lubrication, I fitted the chassis into the new body and tested the models running in the servicing cradle to ensure that the fitting of the new body didn't interfere with any of the moving parts. The model operated fine in the servicing cradle with the new body, so I got it onto my oval of 3-rail track, all that I have set up yet. Okay, continuing with my efforts with my Hornby Dublo tabletop. I've done quite a few more things now. First, most obviously, as you can see here, I've put the new body onto the 264 tank. I bought this body separately, and someone, not me, someone did a nice job of finishing this in a glossy back unlined LMS livery. So I took the old body off and fitted this, and it fitted fine, no problem. It's a metal body like the other one, just one screw retained at the front, so chassis slots in at the back. If anything, the new body's perhaps a hair lighter than the old one, I don't know why. They're both metal, so the model's a little bit lighter now. Not much difference. Still a heavy model. No problem with it having too little. It's got lots of weight. It's a very heavy model. But perhaps a little lighter than it was, which is probably a good thing. It's less weight to accelerate when it's got to start going. Whilst I was doing that, whilst I had the body off, I cleaned the chassis using the electrical contact cleaner that I bought. It's a sort of, power aerosol spray electrical contact cleaner that supposedly leaves no residue, and I sprayed that in through the wheels and between the wheels and the chassis to give things as good a clean out as I could without taking them apart. Then after I let the contact cleaner evaporate, I re-lubricated, because of course the contact cleaner removes the oil and grease it's meant to. And that really improved the running of the chassis quite a lot. That allowed the chassis to run smoother and at a lower power than before. It was quite a big improvement. So that's two things I've done. What else have I done? Oh, well, I've gone back to using the Duet controller. I've given up on the old Hornby controller with the power supply. I ran with it because I did some straight comparisons of between them, with the same loco in the same condition, and there was no doubt the Duet was performing better. So I've gone back to the Duet. I also did a bit more cleaning on this track with my 600 grit emery paper. I went round and cleaned the insides of all of the outer rails. I'd cleaned the tops of all the rails before, but this time I cleaned the insides of the outer rails because I figured that just gives you more area that can contact, remove the crud from that, the old oxidization and whatever, and the flanges of the wheels can pick up electricity. Now I haven't done any cosmetic stuff to the model other than changing the body, with the result that the cylinders now don't quite match. The cylinders are part of the chassis, not part of the body. So they're still painted the way they were. The paint's rather chipped, and they still have red lining on, which doesn't fit with the rest of the loco, which is unlined black. So I'm intending to paint the cylinders. I might even try and remove that paint. I'm not sure, quite honestly, whether I'm going to remove it or just paint over it, but I'm going to paint the cylinders, hopefully gloss back black, so they match the rest of the loco. And then I'm going to try and get it running with a little bit of rolling stock. I think maybe some freight rolling stock. It could run with a Suburban train, and I've got some Dublo Suburban carriages, but I think I've got a number of little freight items I'd like to get going, so I think I'll run him, sort some things out and run him with a little freight train. Okay, let me see if I can get him going. The problem is I don't have a handheld, a walkabout controller with this like I do with the other layout, so I have to bend down to operate the knob of the and that's probably a little faster than we need to go. He definitely goes quite a lot faster now. Bit hard to regulate the speed. That's nowhere near full power on Duet now, whereas he needed pretty much full power to go this well before. But I don't think he was actually going even this well full power before, so he's going a lot better now, and that's mainly, I think, from that cleaning out the chassis with the contact cleaner. He's really going faster than we need him to go now, isn't he? But he does tend to slow down a bit round the back still. That's the slow point, because the power doesn't get there through the track too well. We'll see. Admittedly, I haven't done anything much that would help that. Well, I tried wiggling the track sort of to make sure that it was seated together better, but that's about all I've done. I really need to try and see. I've got more track as well. This is the track that came with it. That's just an full set. But I have a whole bunch of more track, and I'm planning to make a much more extensive setup at some point. But I haven't even started to clean that other track yet. But still, that'll be expanding the track setup will be another project quite soon. We'll clean some more track, and we'll try and set up something a bit more complicated in the way of the layout. I've got points and things. But there you go. He's now an LMS engine, and he's going quite well. And I'm trying to get round to find the knob, and we'll slow him down. There we go. He still stops at about, when the knob goes below about 50%. Needs a fair amount of power to go, but okay, so I'm going to get on to seeing about refinishing those cylinders next, and then we'll see about running him with a little freight train. The next thing that I did was to paint the cylinders plain gloss black to match with the new body. I took the chassis out of the body again for this, as this made accessing the cylinders to paint them easier. I used some Model Master gloss black enamel that I had. Here's the first cylinder after repainting. I didn't bother to attempt to remove the original paint, as it wasn't flaking or anything, and it appeared that just painting over it should work okay. I let the first cylinder dry for quite a while before attempting to paint the second cylinder. Even so, I raised the front of the chassis by placing the front on a tape spool whilst painting the second cylinder, as I wasn't very confident that the paint on the first cylinder was fully dry. Here's the front of the chassis after the painting of the cylinders. I suppose I could have repainted the actual front of the chassis itself, as the paint there is quite chipped, but it didn't really occur to me to do so, and I don't think the chipped paint there is going to be particularly noticeable when the loco is running. I put the chassis back into the body and refitted the pony truck. As you can see in this picture, I didn't get the new paint right to the inside of the cylinders, and you can still see some of the red lining there. But again, I don't think that will really be seen when the model is running. Here's the loco model on the bench after completion of the refinishing of the cylinders. Next, I turned my attention to putting together some Dublo freight stock to run with the newly rebadged loco. I bought these 2 Dublo brake vans on eBay. A bit of a mistake on my part, really. I should have looked at the listing pictures more closely. Since this listing was for 2 grey Dublo brake vans, and the 20-ton Midland-style van was more forward in the main listing picture, I thought that I would be getting 2 Dublo Midland-style vans with Simplex Couplings. But in fact, although these are actually Dublo vans, and they would certainly have originally had Simplex Couplings when sold, someone had fitted tension lock couplings to them. Exactly what I didn't want. Also, one of the vans is a Great Western Toad-style van, not really appropriate with my LMS stock. Oh well, I'll make the best of what I have. The Toad van I will probably give away, but I did intend to use the 20-ton Midland van with my Dublo freight stock, so I wanted to fit it with Simplex couplings. The tension lock couplings were fixed on with screws, which I removed. Had to use a really large screwdriver too, as these screws were really firmly turned into the metal of the chassis. Peco still make and sell Simplex couplings in a couple of different styles, and I had recently picked up some more from British Model Trains in Cambridge, Ontario, as I'd pretty much used all of the ones that I had before. I thought that it would probably be easier to fit this plastic style of coupling to the brake van, although it wouldn't be possible to fit them exactly as intended by Peco. In fact, I've never been able to fit this style of coupling the way the Peco instructions indicate, as I've never encountered any rolling stock that had or allowed for the fittings required. But the essential part of the couplings is the coupling hook or knuckle itself and the shouldered screw provided to pivot the coupling. I fitted the couplings to the van by pivoting the couplings to their plastic bases with the shouldered screws provided, and then cutting off the legs of those plastic bases and supergluing them to the ends of the wagon. This was way more difficult than it sounds. Assembling these couplings at all is really difficult, as the plastic bases are not pre-tacked in any way, and you're expected to just get the fine thread on the metal screws to screw into the plastic and self-tap, which it absolutely does not want to do. Tapping those screws into the plastic is a massive struggle, at least for me it is. Then I had to drill out the holes in the metal chassis of the van a bit to allow the ends of the pivot screws to go into those holes so that the couplings could sit level, and that wasn't easy either, as the metal from which the chassis was cast was not at all easy to drill. This kit-built wagon came to me with caddy couplings fitted. I don't use caddy couplings at all on my 00 gauge layouts, and anyway I wanted to run this wagon with Dublo stock, so I wanted to fit Simplex couplings. I removed the caddy couplings and replaced them with Simplex couplings, the metal type in this case. According to the Pico instructions, these are supposed to fit using plastic pivot pins that just push fit, which is all very well and good if you've got a suitably sized hole. I fitted the coupling at one end using the plastic pin that came with it, after messing around with the size of the hole, and at the other end I used the screw that had been holding the caddy coupling in place. I put a little tack glue onto one of the couplings to prevent it from swinging about too freely. I think originally there were sort of supposed to be pins on either side that limited the travel. This is obviously not a great job, but I think it should allow the wagon to couple up. I tried the kit-built van and the brake van together on the bench. It looked as though they should be able to couple together okay, though it can often be a bit iffy trying to use the metal and plastic Simplex couplings together. This kit-built wagon came to me at the same time as the kit-built van, and this one had no couplings at all. I took much the same approach with this one as I did with the brake van, partially assembling the plastic couplings, then cutting off their legs and gluing them flat to the ends of the wagon. Checking them on a bench, there did seem to be some reasonable hope that they might couple up properly together. The kit-built wagons are sort of interesting items, apparently built from metal kits. I also had these three wagons, which I bought on eBay UK. I had to specifically petition the seller to add shipping to Canada so that I could buy these, but I particularly wanted to get them as for me they have an association with my old home, being marked as belonging to the Cliff Hill Stone Pavement Company in Markfield, Leicestershire, just near to where I grew up. They also, of course, fit my prototype of pre-World War II operations in the Midlands, and they came fitted with metal Simplex couplings good for operation with Dublo's stock. I'm not clear as to the origin of these wagons. It appears that perhaps they were built from Pico kits, in which case someone's made a very nice job of them. It occurred to me that I should decal the brake van as LMS, so I got out my HMRS Pressfix Lms Wagon Decals. I found that I was actually using the very last set of the really large LMS letters in this set, so if I need to do another wagon with those very large LMS letters, I'll have to switch over. I did get some Model Master Waterslide Decals for large LMS wagon lettering, as I knew that I was coming to the end of these. I applied the large LMS letters to each side of the brake van. Then I masked the bottom of the van so that I could spray fixative without gumming up the wheels. Here's the van back from being sprayed with a coat of matte acrylic fixative. This will protect the decals, which can be a bit delicate otherwise, and I think it has actually made the finish of the wagon look better. I got all of this freight stock hooked up on my little oval of 3-rail track to run with a 264 tank. Here's the brake van at the back of that train, and in front of the brake van the two kit-built wagons, and at the front of the train the 3 Markfield Stone Company wagons. Here's a close-up of one of those. I see from this photo that coal is cast into the top of the inside wall of the wagon. I hadn't noticed that before. And here's the 264 tank in its new LMS livery at the head of that train. Here's that whole train ready to run on the little oval on the tabletop. As you'll see, I ended up swapping the order of the 2 kit-built wagons to remedy coupling issues. Anyway, I'll finish with some video of my running attempts with this train. So here's the 264 tank, now fitted with his LMS body and with his newly repainted cylinders. So he's all but LMS, gloss LMS black now. And behind we got 3 of these rather nice Markfield Cliff Hill Stone wagons from just near where I grew up in Leicestershire. And then a couple of metal kit-built wagons that I've fitted with, whoops, I'm putting my head in front of the light, with couplings, with Simplex couplings and the Dublo rake van, which would originally have had Simplex couplings, but someone had taken them off, so I fitted them back on. And let's see if I can get this running without anyone decoupling or derailing or whatever. We shall see. Oops, got to bend down, power to the... a nice gentle start there. Try and give him moderate power. Oops, I've lost the brake van. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I was a bit afraid of that. Okay, well now I think I really have got this little freight train running. And it's going progressively faster as the engine warms up. Turning the power down a bit more because we don't want it to race around really, and now it's slowing down perhaps too much. It is slowing down too much. It's a very delicate business balancing the power, and I need to do more work on the track. Yeah, I mean, the problem is the front 3 wagons were fitted by Simplex couplings with someone else, or maybe originally, I don't know whether they were kit built or whether they were original, but anyway, they've got Simplex couplings that are better fitted than mine. I had real trouble fitting the Simplex cuttings to the back 3 wagons. I see the phone's ringing now, but it can ring. It's almost certainly just some junk call. And if not, if it's actually... Oh, for goodness sake, the brake van's now uncoupled yet again. Yeah, the problem's my improvised mixture of metal and plastic Simplex couplings on the back wagons. 2 of them have plastic Simplex couplings. The front 3 are all metal, and one of the back ones is metal. I've now reordered the wagons, so basically the front 4 have metal couplings and the back 2 have plastic couplings, thereby minimizing the attempt to couple plastic couplings to metal couplings, because they don't like staying coupled terribly well. And there's also problems with coupling heights, you know, because they're not really... The back one's actually a Dublo wagon, but the 2 in front of him are actually just kit-built wagons that were perhaps never intended to have Dublo couplings in the first place, Simplex couplings, and they're not perhaps just at quite the right height. So it's all a bit of an improvisation, and it wasn't working all that well, but we keep trying. I think it's not going very far. I must say, I mean, albeit that I'm struggling with the couplings on the wagons, I'm pretty pleased with how the loco's running now. And I quite like the look of it as well. It's a nice looking loco, isn't it? I think. Need to do track work. We're getting marks slowing down round the back of the track, but still. And we are going a bit faster as things warm up. But still, even though I'm struggling a bit with the couplings and things, I had a heck of a struggle to get them on at all, and now they're not working. I've gone too slow. I've slowed it down to the point where it can't quite get round the back there. It goes so much faster at the front than at the back. Oh well. Oh dear. Oh well, that's about all I'm going to do for now with this. Next stage is probably going to be lifting this little oval of track altogether and doing more track work, cleaning it up, and I've got a whole bunch more track that I need to work on. We'll stop the train there, I think. Oh dear. So I'm bending over to an awkward angle because I've got to reach the controller there. Yep, so I'm quite, really, very pleased on the whole with how this LMS 264 tank's turned out, both in terms of appearance and running now. And I need to do more track work next, probably. I only have the 2 locos, this guy and the Duchess of Athol. I've got a couple more locos coming, but I don't know how long they'll take to get here, 3-rail locos. But I definitely want to do more track work, lift this track, clean it, and then I've got a whole box full of additional track that I bought, which I haven't done anything with yet, which I need to get out. Well, I've got it out, but I need to clean it up and try and see what I can do in the way of connecting it, and we'll gradually move towards a slightly more complex tabletop layout.